The United States of America and the European Union today reached a trade agreement just days before the deadline set by President Donald Trump. The agreement is currently only verbal, with no written document yet. But the Europeans are very dissatisfied with the tariff rates established in this agreement. And although the agreement seems to have been reached, there are still many questions about how exactly it will work. In addition, there is a real risk that the European Union will gradually diversify its markets to get rid of its dependence on the United States. So what exactly is hidden in the United States-European Union trade deal? We'll break it down in this episode. My name is Alexi Peci. It is July 27th. Let's go through everything step by step. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peci News. The link is in this video's description. If you want to support the work of this channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video or by using the QR code on your screens. So, the United States of America and the European Union have signed a trade agreement today, setting the rate at 15%. The tariff was set just a few days before Donald Trump's deadline, by which they had to either make a deal or the Europeans were threatened with tariffs twice as high. Trump, speaking after meeting with the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, at his Turnberry Golf Club in Scotland, announced the deal to American journalists, calling it the biggest victory in the trade war. Although here Trump was a bit hasty, von der Leyen, who flew urgently to meet with Trump in Scotland, said, quote, "We had to do some hard work. But many thanks also for the negotiations that we had many times on the way to our goal, and now we have achieved it." Trump, reading the report, stated that the European Union agreed to purchase American energy resources for $750 billion. We're mainly discussing gas, but it's more complex than it seems. I'll clarify the reasons later. In addition, according to Trump, the European Union supposedly agreed to invest $600 billion more in the United States than was planned before today. But despite Trump's statement, it turned out that the deal itself hasn't been fully worked out, let alone signed. The customs duty rate on imports from the European Union will be 15%. But von der Leyen, speaking at a press conference, later stated that this would be a ceiling, meaning not everything will be 15%, that's just the maximum limit. And the same rate will be applied to cars, pharmaceutical products, and semiconductors. The tariff regime for alcoholic beverages hasn't even been developed yet. In addition, she added that Europe will replace Russian gas with energy purchases from the United States totaling $250 billion a year until the end of Trump's presidential term. So, the $750 billion that Trump is talking about is for the next 3 years. And although there was a statement that the tariff cap is 15%, that's what von der Leyen is saying. Trump later stated that steel and aluminum will still be subject to 50% tariffs. Von der Leyen stated that Washington and Brussels will work together to create a ring barrier to address the problem of global overproduction, but also added that the issue of tariffs on steel and aluminum will still be discussed. A deal is in progress but not finalized, with some contentious issues remaining. The negotiations took place after a 2-week standoff provoked by Trump, who, in a letter to von der Leyen, threatened to raise tariffs on most goods from the European Union to 30% if an agreement was not reached by August 1st. The first sign that a breakthrough was near was von der Leyen's statement on Friday that she would fly to meet with Trump in Scotland, where the United States president is on a private visit. It is also worth adding that Trump's escalation stunned the European Union's trade negotiators, who had been convinced by their American counterparts that a preliminary agreement was achievable. Well, and then Trump came out with his ultimatum. What followed was a tense battle when Trump announced a number of other agreements, including an agreement with Japan that set a basic tariff of 15% and at the same time eased the situation for Japan's automotive industry. For them, it remains 15%. Well, and some observers saw this as a kind of benchmark. Like, now Trump will just make a deal with everyone for 15%, that's it, 15% for everyone. At the same time, the European Union stepped up its trade countermeasures, drawing up a list of American goods worth 93 billion euros. This includes airplanes, cars, soybeans, bourbon, and more. So, basically, all these goods would be subject to retaliatory tariffs of up to 30%. The tariffs were set to start on August 7th without an agreement. This threat is now temporarily suspended. Earlier, von der Leyen emphasized the importance of transatlantic trade relations worth $1.7 trillion. This is the largest trade relationship in the world. And she urged Trump to make the biggest deal that either of them has ever made. Speaking afterwards, she said, quote, "There should be a good flow of trade between the two largest economies. I think we've reached exactly the point we wanted to, restoring balance but at the same time ensuring trade from both sides. This means good jobs on both sides of the Atlantic, prosperity on both sides of the Atlantic." That was important for all of us. And here Politico brings up an interesting point. Here's a quote. "Although the European Union never went as far as imposing retaliatory tariffs or using its trade weapons, these measures had a deterrent effect due to their potential economic impact on voters in Republican states in the United States and on American industries that have lobbying influence in Washington. A joint statement or the text of the agreement has not yet been published." One of the sources close to the European negotiating team said that it is extremely important to reach a written agreement as soon as possible, not just an oral one. The European Commission is expected to hold a briefing for European Union ambassadors in Brussels on Monday regarding the trade deal. This was reported by a representative of the Danish delegation in the Council of the European Union, the intergovernmental body of the European Union. As you can understand, there is an interesting point here. While Trump is declaring victory in the trade war with the European Union, in Europe they are still saying that the deal is only in words, not on paper. And if on Monday even one member of the European Union speaks out against it, there will be no deal. It also remains up in the air, so for now the deal is only verbal, there is still nothing in writing. I'll leave it at that. Friends, share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles created by